It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by 94.3 The Beach, your station for rock and roll oldies, and by Atlantic Boat Lifts, servicing South Florida for over 27 years, and by RPM Diesel Engine Company, so much more than an engine company, and by West Palm's powder coating leader, XL Coatings, now offering free commercial pickup and delivery service.
Thanks for tuning in to ShipShape, the Boat Improvement Show. I'm your host, John Greviskis, back at RPM Diesel Engine Company in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where today we're going to look at the generator on your boat. We're going to get into detail on how the generator actually works and talk about terms like wattage, voltage, amperage, cycles, and droop, as well as how to determine what size generator is right for your boat and how to service and maintain that generator. Now, maybe there's something that you'd like to learn more about pertaining to your boat. If this is the case, we'd love to hear from you.
Write down your inquiries and send them to ShipShape TV, P.O. Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, 33420. Or fax us your suggestions at area code 561-626-4348.
One of the great things about writing into the show, besides sharpening your penmanship skills, is that if we use your suggestion on the show, we're going to go ahead and send you out an official 100% cotton ShipShape t-shirt. But right now we need to hear a word from the people who make this show possible. But you'll want to stick around, because when we come back, I'll introduce you to Ron Bagwell out here at RPM Diesel Engine Company.
Stay tuned. ShipShape will be right back.
SureHold brushes are the go-to choice worldwide for quality deck brushes, featuring split-end bristles that hold more soap and water for effortless and effective cleaning, an iconic solid wood block that is exceptionally durable and long-lasting, a rubber built-in safety bumper that protects surrounding surfaces from accidental damage, corrosion-resistant fittings made from marine-grade alloys that will never rust or corrode, SureLock system compatibility for positive locking into any SureHold handle, quickly and easily change brushes while saving space and time. Each SureHold brush is proudly built in the USA to SureHold's famous quality standards. SureHold, clean and simple.
Welcome back to the show. Now, I'd like to introduce one of our very special guests, Ron Bagwell, one of the top generator technicians in the world today. Ron, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to appear on the show.
It's great to be here, John.
Now, we tried several weeks ago to get together, but you were called out on an emergency flight halfway across the globe to service a boat. Tell us what happened.
Well, one of our customers had a generator go down and he needed urgent service, so we flew out there and got him fixed up and running.
Now, that happens a lot here, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, today we want to talk about generators. And, you know, Ron, one of the biggest questions we get asked is, what size generator do you pick for your vessel? How do you answer that?
Okay, well, what we take into consideration is the loads on the boat, i.e. the air conditioning, refrigeration, etc. And we look at the amperage that each of those pieces of equipment draw. We then total that up, and it gives us an idea of what size generator goes in, will be applicable to that vessel. Also, we've got to take into consideration the size constraint, what room is available on board, what will fit. We've also got to look at the situation where you don't want to oversize a generator because it doesn't do a generator any good to be running on light load for long periods of time. So we may undersize a generator in a full load condition, but it means that the generator will have a high percentage of the load for most of the time.
Now, Ron, most generators today run at 1800 RPM, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, some companies are putting out some generators that are running a little slower, 1200 RPM. Tell us why and tell us who.
Okay, the 1200 RPM units are mainly for quietness. Obviously, the engine's running a lot quieter because it's running at a lower speed. The problem with that being is that the size of the unit has got to be increased to compensate for the amount of horsepower that the unit produces at a lower speed.
It's going to add weight to your boat? Okay. Okay. Now, that could be a real actually downside if you're talking about weight restrictions. You're going to be actually increasing your fuel consumption on some vessels. So there's some real things to consider.
Yes.
If we can kind of get into like a generator 101 lesson here and maybe go through some of the basic terms. Voltage, what does it mean?
Voltage is a measure of basically the pressure on the electrical system. It's how much force is pushed, how much force the electricity is pushed through a circuit.
What about amperage?
Amperage is a measure of the flow of electricity through a circuit.
Now, there's some mathematical formula that those two put together to give you wattage. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a simple mathematical formula where you multiply the voltage times the amperage of a circuit, and it gives you the wattage.
Now, what are cycles?
Cycles are the speed by which the alternating current that comes out of the generator actually fluctuates. Normally, in America, we use 60 cycles. In Europe, they run at 50 cycles.
Now, there's a difference there. Now, will a generator accommodate either?
A generator will accommodate either, yes. However, most of the equipment on board you'll see coming from Europe or America can't be converted to run on a different cycle.
So, say for example, if your vessel's here in the United States and you're on a 60 cycle system, you take the boat over to Europe, you're abroad, and you use shore power.
Right.
Okay, you're going to be plugging into a 50 cycle system. Can that do any damage to your electronics?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
How so?
Basically, all the motors on board will be running at a much slower speed, and that can cause problems with air conditioning, refrigeration systems, and even the clocks run slower.
Now, is that only when you're plugged in? I mean, say for example, you unplug and you come back here and you plug back into 60 cycle. Is everything going to work fine again, or are you still going to be looking at possibly having some problems?
Yes, it's possible to do some permanent damage to the equipment if you run it on a 50 cycle system.
So if you are abroad, you're going to be running your stuff on generator power.
Right. There are some alternatives to that. There are some specialized equipment which will change the frequency of the shore power and give you 60 cycles from a 50 cycle supply. Or if the boat is so equipped, it can be equipped with 50 or 60 cycle equipment.
Okay, okay. Now you've set up a load bank for us to kind of get a little bit more in depth on some of these terms. Can we head outside and take a look at that?
Sure, let's go.
Now years ago, the only generator that was on the market was a rotating armature generator. And what that was is that they used the brushes. I don't know if you've ever taken apart a motor and you've seen those brushes, but that's what was making the electricity. Today they're using something exclusively called a rotating field. But you're going to hear some terms out there when you're looking for a generator. You're going to hear terms like a single-phase generator as well as a three-phase generator. Ron, I was hoping you could kind of tell us the difference between those two.
Sure. As you use the three-phase as an example, the larger units you'll see are powering three-phase systems. And what that is, it's like 3 single-phase power supplies all coming from one generator. Now, the difference being between that and, say, a straight single-phase unit is that the unit's going to be smaller, the cabling can be smaller, and the size of the equipment itself can be smaller that you're powering.
Okay, great. Well, we've got a couple of load banks set up here. Tell us what the top one is.
The top one is a single-phase 10 kW load bank, portable, which we use normally on site at a boat to test and diagnose generator problems. The one below is a 40 kW three-phase unit, which we normally use at the shop for testing the larger units.
Okay. Now we're going to be testing a 5 kW generator, and what a kW is it's 1,000 watts. If you can kind of picture a kW lighting up 10 100-watt light bulbs, that'll kind of give you an idea of what kind of power this generator will put out. This is a 5 kW, so imagine it would be able to light 50 100-watt light bulbs. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up and show how the load bank works and everything, Ron, if we could. Now we've got some readings going on the dial here, Ron. Can you kind of explain what we have going on?
Sure. The first one on the left-hand side is the AC volts coming out of the generator. Now this generator is set up as a straight 120-volt generator. In the center we've got the AC amperage, which is the load of on the generator itself. At the moment the load bank is switched off, there is no load on the generator.
No load, okay.
Okay, on the right-hand side we have the frequency measured in hertz of the generator output.
Now we never went through that earlier. Hertz is the frequency that's traveling through the wires, actually.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, great. Now you're going to put some load on the generator, and what's going to happen? The governor's going to kick in?
The governor's going to kick in. It's going to try and maintain, well, it's going to maintain the AC voltage of the output of the generator. You'll see the load increase, and you'll see the frequency drop off slightly, which is due to the droop characteristic of the governor of the engine.
Now, how much load are you going to put on it?
I should start off with 2 kW.
Okay. So that's like running 20 light bulbs.
That's correct, yes.
You hear the governor kick in, and now the hertz, that's gone down. The frequency's gone down a little bit, and you put some load on it, so you're now seeing some amps going through the unit, but yet it stays right at 120 volts.
That's correct, yes.
Now this is to test your generator. It's not to service it.
No.
We're going to get into that right after this break.
Don't drift off. ShipShape will be right back.
Hi, I'm John Greviskis with ShipShape TV. Look at this guy and all the products he needs to maintain his boat. I guarantee you he'll be tripping over that stuff all day long. Forget that nonsense. Use what I use, the SureHold family of products, the one handle that does it all. Any one of these quality-built SureHold attachments easily locks right into place, and here's the best part. They're the best quality items money can buy. You have my word on it. Whether it's for your car, truck, RV, or boat, keep it ship-shape with SureHold products.
Chapman's Corner is brought to you by Chapman School of Seamanship.
Today on Chapman's Corner, we want to show you the correct way to load and fire a white practice meteor flare. Notice with my kit here that I have 3 red meteor flares, all in date, and I have 1 white flare. What does that 1 white flare do for me? It allows me to load it into the gun. And remember, this is a loaded pistol, treated as such. This is a non-distress flare. It's designed so you can practice shooting this off. I'm going to close the gun. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my radio on channel 16. I'm going to call a security call so that other vessels in the area know that I'm shooting this off. Because anybody sees this goes off, they're going to think it's a distress signal. Securite, securite, securite. This is vessel CJ. I'm about a mile west of the St. Lucie Inlet, and I'll be firing a white practice meteor flare off now. Over.
This is channel 6A receiving the securite message.
Thank you very much. Stand by. Okay, I'm now going to put my back to the wind because I want to shoot this downwind. Never shoot it into the wind because it can come back and land on top of you. I'm going to cock my gun like so. Make sure there are no vessels, other vessels in the way. Put it up at a high angle and fire. There we go. There was no kick to that. There was a 12-gauge shell, absolutely no kick. And you can practice using your own gun. From Chapman School of Seamanship, this is Tom Dante.
Welcome back to the show. We've been talking about generators today, and now Ron and I are going to get into showing you some service on your generator. Now, naturally, when you're running your generator, every single time you get on the boat, check the water and check the oil. Ron, show us how to do that.
Okay. The oil level is checked with a dipstick. Obviously, on different units, the dipstick is located in different places.
Now you're running just straight 30.
Straight 30 weight. It really, in Florida, you can run pretty much the same oil as you're running in your main engines,
Okay.
as long as it's an SAE standard and CD approved.
Let's talk water.
Water, remove the filler cap and check the water level is within a ½ an inch or so of the filler cap.
Now let's talk about your other aspects of the generator. How often should you check, say, the fuel filter?
Okay, the fuel filter you're looking at probably every 200 hours or so, or every 3 months, depending upon how much you use the unit.
Okay, now what about your belts?
Okay, the belts, every month, check the tightness, make sure you haven't got any frayed belts, make sure they are doing their work properly.
Now what kind of spare parts, Ron, would you recommend that people keep aboard?
Okay, good start would be the belts. Keep a spare set of belts on board, a spare impeller and gasket for the raw water pump, set of filters, especially fuel filters.
Now we want to talk about the raw water pump here real quick. How often should you check that?
Really, you can check it every 4 or 5 months if it is still working correctly. Now, the impeller itself is made of rubber. It does deform if the unit's not run for long periods of time.
Now you recommend something called exercising your generator.
Right.
You know, when people don't run the generator that often, and that happens a lot, you know, you'll see some of the larger boats, they'll just sit there month after month after month. It's a good idea to how often get down to that boat and start up that generator.
Every couple of weeks, go down, start it up, run it under load for an hour or so.
Okay.
And that keeps the generator in tip-top condition.
It's just like your muscles. Just exercise them a little bit and they're going to last you a good long time.
Absolutely.
What about zincs on the engine?
Zincs, they should be checked once a month. Now, it isn't necessary to change the zincs every month, but it really depends on what kind of water you're sat in. If you're sat in brackish water, then the zincs will last longer. If you're sat in a heavy salt concentration, then they'll disappear a lot faster.
Again, your zincs are a sacrificial metal, and you want the salt water going after the zinc rather than the metals in your very expensive generator. Ron, I can't thank you enough for being on the show this week and telling us about generators. We'll see you real soon.
Okay.
Don't change your heading. ShipShape will be right back.
Why wax when you can pro polish? This premium protective wax from SureHold can be used on virtually any non-porous surface, such as cars, boats, RVs, home equipment, and more. Pro Polish is scientifically formulated to repel water, provide a deep, high-gloss shine, and protect surfaces from the effects of UV rays, salt water, and other harsh environmental elements. Unlike traditional waxes, Pro Polish contains no talc or fillers, which means easy wipe-on, wipe-off performance that doesn't clog up microfiber towels. Enjoy a new way to protect with SureHold's Pro Polish. SureHold, clean and simple.
Today on this segment, we're going to take a look at something called the party boat. And we are talking about a party when we're talking about the Bayliner Rendezvous. With me again is Carlos Ruiz of Boaterama. Now, Carlos, can you tell us about this boat?
Sure, John. The boat that we're looking at is the 2659 Rendezvous.
Okay.
This boat is an inboard-outboard. A lot of people said it's a pontoon, it's a deck boat, it's a fun boat. It's everything.
It's an everything boat. You've got, with this boat, you've got the big, huge deck like the pontoon boat that's out there, but yet you've got performance back in this baby up. Tell us about that.
Okay, you do have the pontoons on the side for stability, okay? But as you can see, we have the V-hull for performance.
Gotcha.
And on this boat right here, it's equipped with a 4.3 Merc Cruiser engine. It's a V6, 180 horsepower, almost 40 miles an hour.
Whoa, so you're talking about, you're able to ski off this boat?
Yes.
You're able to pull somebody on tubes, whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Hydroslide the whole 9 yards. Let's talk about some of the other amenities that come with this. Now, naturally, if you get this kind of boat, you're gonna be doing some fishing. Let's talk about that.
Okay, this boat comes equipped with carpet that is removable.
Hey, that's a nice feature.
It sure is. You know, you go out with your family, you want to lay your carpet down, go for a ride, that's beautiful.
Sure.
You decide you want to take your fishing gear, You know, that carpet with
Right.
that fishing gear.
You take it out.
You take it out.
That is really
and
smart.
you can go fishing. It's rated for 13 persons, John.
Carlos, I gotta tell you, you know, you got the big old wide area, but let's talk about, hey, there's some sun out there and some people are concerned about that sun. Tell us about the biminis that come with this
Okay,
boat.
it comes standard with a big bimini top, but as an option, you can get a second bimini top and a full enclosure.
That's great.
It's like a camper.
Okay.
You go out and you put your full enclosure. This way, there's no mosquitoes and nothing that bothers you up there.
That is great. Now, there's also a feature that the women really like. Now, tell us about the porta potty situation.
Sure. It has a porta potty that, you know, you open, you step down, it has a couple steps for the ladies.
Right.
Because, you know, we jump overboard, John.
Understand. Let's talk price on this boat.
This boat is roughly, all depending on that you put one of the standards, like $24,000.
Okay, ballpark, what would a monthly figure? I mean, for like under $250, can somebody get into boating?
Around there, around that price.
That is an incredible value, Carlos. How do people get to Boaterama?
Okay, we have 3 locations.
Let's stop right there. Now, you have a slogan called the home of the big boat show with no admission price, free. 72,000 square feet of air-conditioned comfort in 3 locations. Where are they? How do we get to this place?
Okay, our main store is in Fort Lauderdale. I'm in 441 between Griffin and 84. I have a store in Miami.
Okay.
135th and Biscayne.
Take it 95 to 135th, take it east of Biscayne.
East to the water.
Oh,
We're
man,
right
that's
on
easy.
the water.
That's easy. Where's your third store?
Our third store is in Pompano Beach. Federal and Copens. Simple. And we make it happen for you.
I love it. You know, Bayliner puts these packages together. They're truly trying to bring the rich sport of boating to the everyday man, and that's kind of our little thing that we're doing here with Boaterama. Carlos, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, John.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank Kohler, Northern Lights, and naturally RPM Diesel Engine Company for all the great advice they gave us on generators. I hope you got a charge out of it. And you know, if you like this show, go ahead and tell a friend about us. We'll see you next week.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. Ship shape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ship shape means trouble-free. Ship shape means being neater. Ship shape makes boat work easier. Ship shape is the way to go. The Ship Shape Boat Gear Show.